Hello, welcome back to my channel. So for today's video is for grade 12 STEM. Our subject is basic calculus. This is the first module and it is intended for 1 week. So we have here chapter 1, which is limits and continuity. Our learning targets are you're going to illustrate the limit of a function using a table of values and the graph of a function and distinguish limit of f of x as x approaches to a from f of a. So lesson 1, determining the limits of a function by using a tabular and graphical method. Okay, for your gear up, what is your idea of a limit? Do you think all things have limits? In your daily activities, have you ever had to deal with limits? So before you proceed to next page or this one, next scenario or unsa ba na siya diha, I want you to reflect first. I want you to answer this question. What is your idea of a limit? Tanan bang butang na limit? Raniya, amiga magid taman. Ah! Limit ra gyud sa pagka friends, o di ba? So let's read this story. RJ and his friends had an exciting adventure last summer. They hiked up to the brow of the Rocky Mountain, overlooking the underground river. As they went up the slope of the mountain, they got closer and closer to the brow, but they had to be careful not to go behind. What's up, Yang Yang? Hello. For they might fall on the river. So that gave them an experience of a limit. Oh my God, unstable ako internet. So limit, from the word limit, limitations. Tanang butang na ay limitasyon, agay. So for analyze and explore, first is the tabular method. So let us consider the linear function, which is f of x is equal to 2x minus 3. Let us determine the limit of f of x as the values approaches to 1. So let's observe the behavior of f in table 1 and 2 as the values of x get closer and closer to number 1. So here, table 1. So we have x's which are 0, 0 0.5, 0 0.75, 0 0.8, 0 0.9, and so on. Wala gid siya na 1. Okay? Pa-approach lang man siya sa 1. Wala man siya gingon as 1 gid siya ang iyang x. And sa table 2, 2, 1.5, 1.25, 1.2, up to 1.001. Wala gihapon siya nakakuan sa 1. So, as we observe sa behavior sa f, so if we're going to substitute the value of 0 to the equation, so 2 times 0 is 0 minus 3. So we have here negative 3. Next is 0.5. Substitute the ani sa x. So 0.5 times 2 is pila. Kajot, I need calculator. 0.5 times 2 is 1. Minus 3 is negative 2. So negative 2. And so 0.75, substitute na to ang value again. So we have here 1.5 and so on. Here also sa table 2, substitute the value of x which is 2 to the equation. So 2 times 2, 4, minus 3 is 1. And same process, paingon sa ubos. So in the number line, this happens when x values approach to number 1. So from the left. So ang giingon dire sa table 1 is from the left daw siya. So from 0, nag-approach siya paingon sa 1. Tunawa 0, nagkadako. Pero wala gid siya ni padulong sa wala gid siya nag exactly 1. Pa-approach lang siya. So from left to right. Kanina pod from right to left. So from the right, yung gikan siya ito sa right, paingon na po siya sa 1, pero wala gid siya nag-equal into 1. So the table 1 shows that the values of x approaching the number 1 from the left, that is the values of x are getting closer to 1. So it gets closer to 1 daw. So wala gid siya nag 1. So but they are all less than 1. So they are all less than 1 basta from the left. How do the values of y is equal to f of x behave as the result? So they also get closer to number -1. So tanawa ang iyang f of x. As you can see, from 0 ha, ang x na to is 0. Tapos dire sa iyang f of x is -3. Nagkadako hantod siya sa -1.002. So nagpa-approach pud siya sa -1. Wala siya nag-exact gihapon pero paingon lang siya sa -1. Here also sa table 2. In table 2, we make the values of x approach 1 from the right. So from the right to left, paingon siya sa 1. So the values of f of x are also get closer to the number -1. So in this example, we observe that the values of x approach 1 from both left and right. The values of f of x also approach to -1. So dara sa table 2. Itong substitute ang value ni x. Ang answer niya 1. Hantod sa 0, 0.5, hantod na imong -0.998. Wala gihapon siya na exact into -1 kay approaching siya sa -1. Same ra siya sa daan sa atong table 1 and 2 nga x's. Dili siya exact. Pero maka-conclude ta nga it is -1. So hence we say that -1 is the limit of f of x is equal to 2x -3 as x approaches to 1. So as x approaches to 1 daw, we wrote this in mathematical symbol as the limit of 2x minus 3 as x approaches to 1. Wait sa. As x approaches to 1 is equal to -1. So the limit of 2x minus 3, kani si 2x minus 3 mo ni ato ang f of x which is 2x minus 3. So ang giingon man pa-approach siya sa 1, so x approaches to 1 is equal to -1. Aha na to nakuha si -1 sa ato ang f of x ng mga answer. Pagtan-aw na to sa from the left, asa siya pa-approach siya sa -1. Pagtan-aw na to sa f of x sa table 2, asa siya pa-approach, paingon gyapon siya -1. So let's conclude that the answer is -1. So in general expression, so limit of f of x, so si f of x mo ni siya, as x approaches to a, ang a nato is si 1. So is equal to L mo na ang limit which is si -1. So it is read as the limit of f of x as x approaches to a is equal to 11. L. Mean the L is the number that the values of f of x approach as the values of x approach a certain number, both from its left and right sides of the number line. So here, next. Steps on getting the limit of a given function. Y is equal to f of x as x approaches the number a. So first step is you're going to compute the values of f of x as x approaches to a from the left. From the left, ha. Next is check whether these values approach a certain number. We shall symbolize the limit from the left of a as the limit of f of x as x approaches to a raised to the power of negative. So kanang a raised to the power of negative, pagbasa na is approaches a from the left. Basta negative gani ang naka-exponent niya diha, a from the left gina siya. So here, second one, do the same for the values of f of x as x approaches a from the left. So from the left na pud siya, so ang atuang exponent nga ibutang is a positive. So positive ang atuang exponent. So limit of f of x as x approaches to a from the left and limit of f of x as x approaches from a from the right, so are also called one-sided limits. So this one, kani sila are called one-sided limits. So we can verify whether the limit of f of x as x approaches a from the left, and the lim is equal to the limit of f of x as x approaches from the right. So ma-verify na to sila if equal if letter A. If the limit of f of x as x approaches a from the left is equal to the limit of f of x as x approaches a from the right is equal to L. Kung same ang ilahang answer while solving sa a from the left and from the right, same ilang answer, therefore we can conclude that the limit of f of x as x approaches to a is equal to L. So makonclude na to siya nga ang atuang limit sa f of x as x approaches to a is equal to L if equal ang duha. Next, if limit of f of x as x approaches to a negative a from the left is not equal to the limit of f of x as x approaches to a from the right, we say that the limit of f of x as x approaches to a does not exist. So, kung dili gani equal ang atuang from the left and from the right, atuang butangan og DNE or does not exist. Murag iyang pagigugma sa imuha. It doesn't exist. Oh. Example number 1. Using the table of values, evaluate the limit of x squared plus 2 as x approaches to 0. So, we have here the solution as x approaches to 0. Our a here is 0 and our f of x is x squared plus 2. So, using the tabular method, we have here table 3 and table 4. In table 3 is from the left and the table 4 is from the right. So we're going to substitute the values of x to the x here in the function of x. So as we substitute negative 1 here, so negative 1 raised to the power of 2 is 1 plus 3 is equal to plus 2 is equal to 3. Again, negative 0.5 squared, oh my god, di piyok. Negative 0.5 squared plus 2 is equal to 2.25 and so on. So as we observed, ang behavior sa f of x, asa siya paingon, asa siya nag-approach, paingon siya sa positive 2. So we can conclude, oh my god, sige lagi ko piyok ay. Therefore, we can conclude that the limit of x squared plus 2 as x approaches to a or 0 as x approaches to 0 from the left is equal to 2. Again, next to the table 4. As x approaches to 0 from the right. So, paingon siya sa 0, wala siya nag-exact 0 ha. 1, 0.5, and so on. Di siya exact 0 gyud. Ayaw gyud ninyo i-exact 0. So, f of x is equal to x squared plus 2. Substitute the value of 1. 1 squared, 1 plus 2, 3, and so on. And we have here, paingon na po siya sa 2. Pa-approach siya sa 2. It's not exactly 2, but it is approaching to 2. So we can conclude that the limit of x squared plus 2 as x approaches to 0 from the right is equal to 2. So since nakita na to nga equal silang duha, so since the limit of x squared plus 2 as x approaches 0 from the left is equal to the limit of x squared plus 2 as x approaches 0 from the right, excuse me, is equal to 2, same sila, equal to 2, then the limit of x squared plus 2 as x approaches to 0 is equal to 2. So, ang limit daw sa atong x squared plus 2 as x approaches to 0 is equal to 2. So observe the table 3 and 4 that the x values approach 0 from the both left and right. The values of f of x still approach to number 2. So, inganaon na siya pag-answer. And example number 2, examine the limit of x squared minus 9 over x minus 3 as x approaches to 3 by constructing, again, a table of values. Solution. So we have the f of x, which is x squared minus 9 over x minus 3, and our a is 3. So we are going to look for L. So simplify the equation since the equation does not define as x is not defined as x is equal to 3. Why? Because whenever we substitute the value of 3, kana si 3, daan di ba? Ang 3 na to is x. So x, 3, substitute si 3 diri, 3 times 3 is 9 minus 9 is 0. So ubos na po, 3 minus 3 is 0. 0 over 0 is undefined. So it doesn't exist. That's why we are going to simplify the equation for us to answer it easier. Char. So f of x is equal to x squared minus 9 over x minus 3. So factor out the x squared minus 9. So x times x, x, x. So 9, negative 9. Unsa may factor sa negative 9? So negative and positive. So negative 3 and positive 3. 3 times 3 is 9. So we have here x minus 3 and x plus 3. So as we can see, we need to cancel the denominator, which is x minus 3 kay dili pwede na ay denominator nga 0. So we need to cancel out x over 3. Cancel. Kailangan po siya sa numerator. So our f of x now is equal to x plus 3. So that x plus 3 na f of x na to, mo na atong gamiton sa ato ang table of values. Diha na to i-substitute ang mga values nila. So here 2. 2 substituted to x. So x is 2. 2 plus 3. Oh my God, biyok na po. Pagkapila na to tulo. X plus 3 is equal to 5. Next, 2.5 plus 3. 3, 4, 5, 5.5, and so on. So as you can see, ang x na to as it is approaching to 3, ang ato ang behavior pod sa atong f of x is approaching to 6. So therefore, we can conclude that the limit of x squared minus 9 over x minus 3 as x approaches to 3 from the left is equal to 6. How about the other one? From the right. So 4, paingon sa 3.001. Wala siya nag-exact 3. So, let's observe the behavior of f of x. Same process, substitute lang nato si x sa equation. So, we have here the answer which are 7, 6.5, and so on. So, it also approaches to 6. So, therefore, we can conclude that the limit of x squared minus 9 over x minus 3 as x approaches to 3 from the right is equal to 6. So, since, therefore, the limit of equal, so equal siya sa 6, then we can conclude that the limit of x squared minus 9 over x minus 3 as x approaches to 3 is equal to 6. Okay. So for example number 2, we note that the limit of f of x as x approaches to a is equal to L. But f of a does not exist. So if we're going to substitute the value of a to the given equation, akong gi-explain ganiha, si a nato i-substitute nato sa diani diretso. Si a mahimo siya si x naman siya, di ba? So x 3 nato si 3, si x 3 times 3 is 9 minus 9, 0, and 3 minus 3 is 0. It is undefined, so dili siya pwede. So mao na i-take note ninyo nga ang ato ang limit of f of x as x approaches to a is equal to L, but f of a does not exist. Therefore, limit of f of x as x approaches to a is not always equal to f of a. Always remember that one. Dili gud siya always equal. So exercise 1. So let us check your basic knowledge about piecewise function. So you are going to answer this one. You're going to evaluate the limit of g of x as x approaches to 2 and the g of 2 by constructing table of values. So let the g of x is equal to x squared minus 1 if x is less than 2 and x plus 2 if x is less than or equal to 2. Na-discuss naman ni nato unsaon ang piecewise function last time, so mo na inyong ansiran. That is your exercise. Again, next, for the graphical method. So let us consider once again the function f of x is equal to 2x minus 3. Its graph is a straight line with a slope of 2 and y-intercept of negative 3. So from the left, as it is approaching to x is equal to 1, and as the right approaches to x is equal to 1. So diba, from the left, i-graph na to siya, na naman tayo answer diri sa atong table of values niya. Diri sa taas, diba? Kani, i-graph na to si x, mo po ni si y, xy na sila, super point i-graph ninyo. So makita na to diri nga pa-approach siya sa 1 nga x. Diani. Na siya diha nga part, ni approach lang siya diha nga part. Again, by plotting the table 1 and 2, we notice that the point move up along the straight line and approach the point 1, negative 1. Excuse me. Where y is equal to negative 1. With this, we confirm graphically our earlier conclusion that the limit of 2x minus 3 as x approaches to 1 is equal to negative 1. So note also that f of 1 is equal to negative 1. Therefore, in this case, the limit of 2x minus 3 as x approaches to 1 is equal to f of 1. Why? Ano siya? Equal to f of 1. Okay, here. Ito. 2x. Dara. 2x. 2x minus 3 as x approaches to 1. So we substitute the value of 1. 2 times 1 is 2. Minus 3 is equal to negative 1. So ang ato ang f of a or f of 1 is equal to negative 2. negative 1. So same answer sa ato ang limits. Asan to? So same silang answer sa ato ang limit of 2x minus 3 as x approaches to 1. So ingani na to pagbutang. Therefore, limit of 2x minus 3 is equal to, as x approaches to 1 is equal to f of 1. So in example 1, we have considered the function y is equal to x squared plus 2. We have seen in our previous table of values that limit of x squared plus 2 as x approaches to 0 is equal to 2. We now verify graphically by looking the point very close to x, which is equal to 0. So as it is approaching to 1 nga x niya, naga-approach pod ang iyaha siya, naga-approach pod iyang x sa 0. So makita na to, nag-i-plot na to na siya tanan mga point. Di siya mo equal gyud sa 1, pero it is approaching to 1 gyud siya. So by plotting the 3 and 4, we notice as the values of x approach to 0 from the left and right, the points of the graph also approach a level where y is equal to 2. So kung nag-approach siya sa left, paingon sa 0 ang iyang x, iyahang y is equal to 2. So we now say that the limit of x squared plus 2 as x approaches to 0 is equal to 2. So dara, nanadi ang point. Makita na ninyo, inag-i-graph ninyo to inyo ang mga gipang solve na sa table of values. Okay, next. For the graph of x squared minus 9 over x minus 3. So atong f of a, di ba wala man siya undefined. Therefore, ato ang point dira is hollow. So whenever it is undefined gani, hollow gina siya diretso. So this one from the left, as it approaches to x is equal to 3. So approach siya pa yun. So 3. So from the right, as x approaches to x is equal to 3. My God. Sayo pa kung mga gipang butang. Mo di wala ka sa butang uban. Sorry. Wala ko na edit. Oh my God. Okay, approaches to 3. Diri sa taas, approaches to 0 ni siya. So observe that as x values approach to 3 from both left and right, the points of the graph are such that their y values approach 6. Hence, we say that the limit of x squared minus 9 over x minus 3 as x approaches to 3 is equal to 6. However, f of 3 does not exist. Therefore, in this case, the limit of x squared minus 9 over x minus 3 as x approaches to 3 is not equal to f of x. As you can see, that the point is hollow because f of 3 does not exist. So does not exist to atong f of 3. So that's why I put hollow there. Hollow ang iyang point. Oh, wala siya blue. So next, observe that it is faster to identify the limit of a given function or even its value at any x when we see its graph. However, for example, the graph of the function y is equal to f of x, shown in the figure without the need to compute for values of f of x in a table, we can make the following conclusions regarding its limit and function values simply by inspection. For example, the limit of f of x as x approaches to negative 2 does not exist since the limit of f of x is equal to since the limit of f of x as x approaches to 2 from the left is equal to negative 3, and the limit of f of x as x approaches to 2 from the right is equal to negative 1. So, but f of negative 2 is equal to 3. Nana po ni sayo. Paminaw na ko. This is negative 2. Negative 2. My God. My God. My God. My God. My God. So the limit of f of x as x approaches to negative 2. Asa man negative 2 ani? Dara negative 2. Dara. So here atong tan-awon si f of x as x approaches to negative 2 from the left. So we have here dara left, dani ang left. So pa-approach siya from the left to right, ching dire siya sa line. Tuk. Ang iyahang x is na belong to negative 2, but then ang iyahang y is naa siya sa 3. So muna atong gibutang is 3 ang ato ang f of x. Next, as limit of f of x as x approaches to negative 2 from the right is equal to negative 1 daw. So from the right, dire. So right, ching, ato siya paingon sa negative 2, bupuk. Asa napunta? Nasa sa negative 1. Pa-approach siya sa negative 2. Therefore, nasa sa negative 1. Dara. Ang iyang x. So, makonclude na to nga dili equal ang ato ang limit from the right ay limit of f of x as x approaches to negative 2 from the left and from the right. Since 3 ato ang from the left, ang ato ang from the right is negative 1. So, ang ato ang f of negative 2, tanawa atong f of negative 2, it is hollow. Hollow siya, di ba? Then makita na to ang iyahang point is naa sa taas ng sumpay. So, makakonclude ta nga ang f of negative 2 is equal to 3. Dara atong 3. Basta pagtanaw na to hollow siya, diretso ka sa taas, naman siya point. So diha ang ato ang 3. Basta gipangita is f of a. So nasa sa 3, dara 3. Next na pod. Next. The limit of f of x as x approaches to 0 daw. As x approaches to 0. So asang 0, dara 0. As x approaches to 0, pagtanaw na to hollow. Kunya nasa taas ang point. So ato ang y is, or ang ato ang f of x is 1. Why is it negative 1? Ay, sakto man di ay dira man di ato ang kuan.
Sir,
Oh,
unsaon pag-solve ana, sir?
tan-awon ra na nimo.
Tanawon ra day na.
Oh, naisayop sa ako ang pag-encode tanawa ha. Dira on negative 2. Kani po sa ubos negative 2. Dira po negative 2. Wala na ko nabutang negative. Balik ha, explain ako dani nga part. So if giingon gani the limit of f of x as x approaches to negative 2. So as x approaches to negative 2, atong negative 2. Dara negative 2 nga x. So pa-approach siya sa negative 2 from left and from right. So di man nato siya ma-identify dayon, di ba? Ito siya ma-identify dayon. So that's why ato asang pangitaon si from the left o si from the right. So ato ang from the left is dira. So dirita from the left paingon ta sa right, yung sumpay sa line, ana sunod jud ta sa line. Pag tan-aw na to sa iyang point na adire, dili siya hollow. So maka-conclude ta nga ang iyahang y is 3. Tara, natunong siya sa 3 ang iyang y. So next na pod, ang atuang from the right, diri na po ta sa right magsugod, ana agita chiyong paingon sa 2 which is negative 2 di ay. So negative 2 chiyong puk. Na siya dire. So ang atuang negative y is naa sa negative 1. Negative y. Atuang negative 2
1.
is negative 1. Diba negative 1 siya ng tunong. Pero inagiingon is f of negative 2. So i-substitute na nato diretso ang negative 2 sa iyang f of x. So yung nagdiretso na ta dani sa iyang negative 2, makita nato nga hollow siya. Hollow. Wala siya nag-ingon nga pa-approach lang ka sa negative 2. Ang giingon niya is i-substitute diretso ang negative 2. So gi-substitute diretso ang negative 2, nakita nato nga hollow siya. So ang atuang point na sa taas, diretso na to ibutang is 3. Mangitaon man nimo imong point. If di gani makita, does not exist. So if naaga siya sumpay or naaga ni iyang kuan ni ambak siya, jump continuity. So dara ang atuang 3, diri na to ibutang siya. 3 ang iyang f of negative 2. Since ang atuang f of x as x approaches to negative 2 from the left is 3, and from the right is negative 1, diretso na to butangan ang atuang limit of f of x as x approaches to negative 2 og DNE. So it doesn't exist. Kaya yung sa tong rule sa taas, if dili gani siya equal, DNE ang ibutang. Di ba? Nagdili equal ang from the left, dili equal ang from the right, DNE diretso. So next, kani. The limit of f of x as x approaches to 0 is equal to negative 1. Unya pa na nato ma-identify. Unahon na to is ang from the left. So 0 from the left. From the left. So dire nga line, diretso ta, paingon ta sa 0. Chiyong. Naa siya sa negative 1. Di ba? Pa-approach lang man siya. Basta gingon gani, pa-approach lang, dili siya mo tungtong gyud sa iyang negative gyud, sa iyang number gyud, sa iyang 0. Pa-approach lang siya. Asa siya pa-approach, asa sa dapit na punta, ana. So negative 1. So next na pod, ang atuang from the left man ni. Ang from the right, so from the right yung naapod siya diha. So negative 1 gihapon. So ato ang i-conclude that the limit of f of x as x approaches to 0 is equal to negative 1. Basta equal ang ato ang from the left o ato ang from the right. Kulangan man ni. Agoy kadaghag kulang.
Laban lang yun, sir.
Tanga kang gain code. Mungutan na kasi gain code.
Sir?
Mungutan na kasi gain code.
Ikaw na pod.
Aw. Ano ba ako?
Siyempre. Gadali, maka sir. Bag-shot man kagod.
Ngi.
Hubog siguro kagayin ko na, sir.
Uy, i-record ako ni gago. Ilong ga ay sige ingong ubog.
Anabi ako.
Jutsa ha. There. So x approaches to 0. Positive. Oh my god. Boskag na. Okay. So next is ang f of 0. So ang giingon is substitute diretso ang 0 ang ato ang a sa x ni f of x. So asan to 0 diretso ato siya 0 tura diretso sa 0 diretso. Makita na to nga hollow. Dayon naa siya sa taas which is si 1. So ato ang gibutang is 1. So which is different from the limit of f of x as x approaches to 0. So they are not equal. Tanawa negative 1 ato ang f of x as x approaches to 0. Ang ato ang f of 0 is equal to 1. So dili siya equal. Next. Limit of f of x also does not exist since the limit of f of x as x approaches to 2 from the left is infinite. Tara. Negative, positive 2 from the left. 2. Danita, paingon sa 2. Chill. Uy, paingon man siya infinite. Kinaman siya ellipsis. Basta naaga ni... Ay, ellipsis. Hindi mo tukod sa nga line. Nalimot ko sa line. Unsa ni siya? Basta makakita kay tag infinite line, ingon ani, means ana na siya paingon sa infinite. Di siya mo tagbo sa line, dili siya mo paingon sa 2. Ay dili siya mo exactly 2 pero paingon siya, approaching siya sa 2. So that's why we put negative infinite. Negative infinite siya kay paingon siya sa ubos. So nawa negative ang ato, negative 2, 3, 4, 5. So negative infinite. From the left na siya. If from the right, diretso yung paingon ta sa taas up to infinite na pod. So that's why it is positive infinite. Since dili sila equal ang from the left and from the right, so we can conclude that the limit of f of x as x approaches to 2 does not exist. So in this case, we say that f has infinite limits as x approaches to 2. Moreover, f of 2 does not exist. So f of 2 does not exist kay there's no line nga mapunta kay 2. Wala siya line kay infinite ang ato ang x from the left and x from the right. So for your firm up, you're going to use your calculator, complete the following table of values to investigate the limits of the following function. So gihatag na nako ninyo ang inyong x, tanang x ana dani pod x. So substitute lang ninyo ang value dire, then inyong i-observe unsa ang iyahang from the left and from the right, unsa iyahang limits. So inyo dayong i-conclude katong same sa taas, since the limit of f of x as since the limit of f negative 3x as x approaches to 2 from the left is equal to limit of 2 or is not equal to baka ha kung dili sila same og answer. So same process sa taas mo na to. Ingon ani. Dira. If not equal, ibutang ninyo does not exist. If equal, ibutang ninyo ang iyang answer, which is ang iyang L. So that's for firm up. Dara 1, 2. And the second one is your consider the graph below, evaluate the following limits. So observing na pod sa iyang graph. So the limit, sample, the limit of f of x as x approaches to a from the left. A from the left, paingon sa 1. Dara tong 1. From the left, chiyong, from the left, pila. From the right, pila. So i-conclude dayon. Then kanina po negative 2 from the left, negative 2 from the right, ana. Then kuan, oh. Gamay ra kay na akong gibutang, dapat taas gyud ta to. Kana ra ako nabutang. So for deepen your understanding, evaluate the following limits to think if they exist. You're going to construct a table of values. And if possible, you're going to graph the following. So in constructing table of values, is kamoy magbuot sa inyong x nga ibutang. As long as dili siya equal ani. Dili siya equal to negative 1, to 1, 0, di ba? Approaching lang man. So approaching lang po dato ang ipangbutang. So na ay mga point lang. Basta dili siya equal jud into the A na to, which is si 1, negative 1, 0, and etc. So you're going to graph the table nga inyuhang na answeran. So after constructing the table, you're going to graph, if possible, 4 additional points. So if wala pod, okay ra pod. Wala na points. So dara daghan ta og piecewise function. Balo naman mo ni master kay ninyo piecewise function. Char. So second, given a function y is equal to f of x, if x true, what is the value of k so that the limit of f of x exists? So kamo mag-explore mo ana unsaon na pagpangita sa iyang value. Unsa ang value nga pwede nato gamiton, unsa ang value ni k so that mag-exist ang atuang f of x as x approaches to a. So for your transfer, I want you to answer the following question in a separate sheet of paper. Okay, tanan ha, tanan ninyo ansiran is i-answer niyo sa separate sheet of paper para dali ra ma-checkan bitaw kay if kuan mabalaw patag kuan dagan kay solutions. Show your solution. For dire kay calculator naman dili na pod no, di ba? So can I answer the following question? What experience have you had that gave you a sense of limits? In what way did you feel that there was limit in it? Do you think all things have limit? What things do you think have limits? Which one do you think do not have limits? So kung maghugot mo diha, hugot lang, bahala na mo sa inyong kinabuhi. So again, that's all. I am your basic mathematics teacher, basic calculus I mean. Basic calculus teacher, Mr. BJ. So here's my contact number and you can chat me anytime. Ang Facebook name and I will upload the video sa tuang klase para mabalik-balik ninyo tanaw sa akong YouTube channel. Subscribe. Thank you. Bye.